Okay. Okay, so right. Okay. Um we could start. Why don't you start?
With what?
Okay, so yeah, I guess like why don't you start?
Um, um, hmm. Uh, no, you can go first. It'll be fine.
It'll be fun. So you want me to go first?
Yes, you go first.
I yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I well, a lot of people are going to be looking at this, right? Yes.
Yeah.
From a woman's viewpoint, you would say
Um, um, nice.
nice is good, I think. Hey, how are you? This is Antoine Lee.
And Pam Lee.
You may say, well, what are we here? What are we talking about today? As you can tell, it's an uncomfortable topic for a lot of us, especially if you're a believer, especially if you're a Christian. Is this idea of the three-letter word? We're talking about,
Sex.
she said it first. We're talking about sex. And we just wanted to get a chance as we begin here in 2018. We had some requests for us to do some more of our videos, and so we said, let's do them. And so as we talk about this topic that I think is one of those topics that's very rarely talked about um, in depth in our culture. When I say our culture, whether it's in our church or in the idea of world of Christendom, um, Hebrews 13 is my base. Hebrews 13, verse 4. Marriage should be honored by all, and the marriage bed kept pure, for God will judge the adulterer and all the sexually immoral. The emphasis you see from Genesis to Revelation is that sex is good. That sex is good because marriage is good. Sex is good because it's created by God. It's not satanic. It's not from the world. So he says the marriage bed should be honored. Honored meaning marriage is honored. That covenant, that bond. And it is a good thing. One of the things that's been taken away is that we've taken away sex from being something that is a good, and it becomes just kind of a tolerated evil, that we have to do. And that is so unlike what the scriptures teach, what Jesus taught. And so, what we're going to be talking about is a few specific topics.
Yes.
But today, we're just going to give a brief overview for the next minute or so, couple of minutes, about sex, how to talk about it as a couple. Me and Pam have been married for 27 years.
27.
And I'll be honest, talking about the topic as a couple is still
Uncomfortable.
a little uncomfortable. True?
It's better, but it's still uncomfortable.
But it's still uncomfortable. So we're going to be talking about that aspect of it, but how that aspect of it goes into different phases. It's very different when you're in your 20s than when you're 30s,
Oh, yeah.
40s, 50s, 60s, so forth and so on. And so be looking ahead as we go ahead. But a brief overview, just talking about sex in general, one thing I could share, and this is from my own experience and from our own experience. I'm going to ask Pam just to jump in at any point. Key is that sex talk is sensitive. It's usually the topic that if you're going to have a bad talk, it's like a walking, it can be like walking through a minefield of potential or feelings. And so you want to go into the sex talk as friends and in an atmosphere in your relationship at a time when you feel safe. One good general rule I could share with you when you're talking about sex on any level is talk about what you want to see rather than approaching it from what you don't want. In other words, I would say you have a topic you want to address with your spouse. It would be, not to be strange, but it would be, I really like it when you touch me here. rather than doing, don't touch me there. Ah! Well, don't do that. But say, what you would prefer. Go for what you want rather than talk about, you make the face and do, and, you go for that approach. That usually will not go well. Keep it positive. Keep it positive.
That's good. Another thing I thought about is don't have the sex talk if it's going to be where you have to correct your spouse in the moment. So you're mad or frustrated, and then you decide at that point you're going to point out everything that went wrong. What you might want to do is plan it and say, can we talk about it later? You could even introduce it by saying, it's a little uncomfortable to talk about, but I would like to keep an open mind. And you could bring it up then.
Yes. Another catch, too, is usually when we talk about sex, and we've been guilty of it, everything is vague. It's a conversation where you could literally switch the topic and you wouldn't know what they're talking about or what we were talking about. So a sex will be, well, how did last night go? How did last night go, you feel?
I think it went well.
I thought it went well.
Me too.
I felt okay. You felt okay?
I felt okay.
Yeah, I felt okay. So it was good. It was very,
Good.
It was good. No details. Everything is vague because it's so touchy. And so that's another thing that kind of makes things not really dealt with. Because, we get a little embarrassed about things. We get a little fearful that we're going to be judged by our spouses. And so that keeps it vague when it comes to talks.
The thing I think about is you're going to spend your whole life having sex in the marriage. So we're 27 years. We've been having sex for 27 years.
Not 27 years old, but 27 years.
27 years married. We've been having sex for 27 years. And so it's one of those things you're going to always be doing. And you change, he changes. So you have to come up with a way that as you change, as your likes change, as your moods change, as what you like changes, you have a vehicle and a way to talk those things through that is safe for both people.
Yes, yes. And so that is our foundation. Our foundation is ultimately, as you talk about sex, is friendship. The foundation before that is it's within the marriage bond. It is sacred. Nobody else should be in between or involved with you and your spouse. But in that context, it's something we got to talk about. It's something that you got to be able to feel safe enough to talk about. And that's where it puts your friendship front and center in being able to have those kinds of talks. And so if you have any thoughts about some things that you would specifically kind of like us to kind of we'll go into. We'll just give our views from our background, from our marriages, from being Christians as long as we have, good and bad and ugly, from my role as a counselor and doing marriage counseling. And we'll see how it goes. But we're going to keep it about the word, and we're going to keep it about what's going to be good. So 2018 could be the year of salsa. Hope I didn't offend anybody with that, but that was my Spanish going on. So until we get a chance to see again, this is Antoine Lee.
I'm Pam Lee.
And we'll be speaking to you soon with our first topic.